It's no secret that Russians are dying out. Moreover, it's no secret that a person needs a ton of grain to survive. What about the Russians' food supply in the Central Federal District? If we count the food resources, which include potatoes, then we get approximately the same difference in values. Kursk is the most provided with food resources. Moscow and the Moscow region are the least. Accordingly, we should see depopulation in some areas and demographic growth in others, including due to population migration. But, firstly, the presence of excess food resources in the region does not guarantee population growth in the region, since it is only about production, not consumption. Secondly, if all food resources are consumed in the Central Federal District, then Russians will continue to die out, and at least 1 million more will die out in the Central Federal District. Giving birth with such introductory conditions makes no sense, because even the living have nothing to eat. Thirdly, food resources can go abroad, to another federal district or another region from the Central Federal District. In the latter case, food resources and depopulation are spread over the entire district. In the other two, the Central Federal District subsidizes some population so that it does not die out or its demographic growth at the cost of its own depopulation. Practice shows that Russians from the Central Federal District do not subsidize anyone and cannot subsidize at the expense of their population, because there are an extra 1 million hungry mouths who would be helped by someone. The monetary system is a way to redistribute any resources, including food. Food resources are consumed not by the one who produces them, but by the one who has money, the availability of which gives the right to consume food resources. Money can arise in the process of producing food resources. This is a salary as the right to purchase some food resources from those that are produced. They may arise in some other way. Since everyone can have money, there is a hierarchy of property rights to food resources, where someone has more money, which means they have more rights, and someone else has less. Accordingly, a kind of queue arises who consumes first. These are the richest, who is second, and who will not get it. These are those who do not have money. What about the hierarchy? To do this, we will open the gross regional product per capita and take a look. The region that generates excess food resources have a plus. The region that cannot feed itself have a minus. Moscow and the Moscow region have the most money, and therefore the rights to food resources per capita, which do not have food resources for as many as 21 million people. Bryansk has the least amount of money, which means that it has the rights to food resources, which has extra food resources for as many as 3.5 million people. Some produce and others eat. Although there is no direct relationship, Moscow and the Moscow region will be the last to starve, but Belgorod, which is oversupplied for food resources, also has money. There is an apocalypse in Ivanovo, Tver, Smolensk and Vladimir, where there is neither food nor money to food. Therefore, these regions are in minus. In Bryansk, Tambov, Oryol and Ryazan there is something to eat, but there is no money to eat. These are the donor regions. In Moscow, the Moscow region, Kaluga, Kostroma and Yaroslavl, there is nothing to eat, but there is money to eat. These are parasitic regions. With food and money for food Belgorod, Voronezh, Tula, Lipetsk and Kursk. There is a small problem with money. According to current data, the cost of living at the moment is somewhere around 19,000 rubles. It's very difficult to say how we can survive on that kind of money, because it's not even poverty, it's just dying. But let's make a discount and assume that the minimum cost of living per person is 20,000 rubles per month, which is a level of deep poverty, but we can somehow survive on this money. By a miracle, apparently. The birth of a child per capita is the same cost of money per capita, that is, it should be at least 40,000 rubles per person. The birth of only one child per capita is the reproduction of the population without depopulation, but also without demographic growth. For an increase, we need 1.5 children per person or more, which means 50,000 rubles per capita or more. The second problem is that the gross regional product per capita is not a salary, it is a gross regional product that includes depreciation, profit and income per capita. If assume that some part of rubles per capita is used for depreciation and profit, then it must be deducted from the gross regional product per capita so that only income per capita remains. We don't know which part it is, so we'll assume that it's a corridor from 10,000 rubles per month to zero. Also, 20,000 rubles of the subsistence minimum, which are needed to feed a person, must be deducted from the per capita gross regional product. Now looking at demographics by money, what do we see? Vladimir is on the verge, Ryazan is too, and Smolensk, Oryol, Tver, Tambov, Ivanovo and Bryansk are the finish line, where there is no money even for one child, to give birth to a replacement. It's a dying out. However, it is not to say that Voronezh, Lipetsk, Tula, Kaluga, Kostroma, Yaroslavl and Kursk are also somehow posh, because poverty, 20,000 rubles per month is poverty, will produce the same poverty, the same 20,000 rubles per month, to replace themselves. And why breed poverty? Well, no one produces it. Well, separately, Bryansk and Tambov should be singled out, where they first dug up food resources for more than 3 million people, and then painfully searched for money to buy at least some of these food resources. There is a harvest for a couple of children per capita, and there is money for half a child per capita. Ivanova is out of the question. It's a dead man with no harvest and no money. Population conservation is not on the modern agenda, so the feeding regions are allowed to die out, but the eating regions are allowed to survive, although it should be the other way around. But, on the other hand, 1,100,000 people will die out. There will be no demographic growth, but in an industrial society, the main thing is industry. What about the industry? Bread and grain for industry is energy in kilowatt-hours. The more machines, machine tools, and equipment there are, the more they consume electricity and also require deductions from gross regional product for depreciation. Watching. The regions that can feed themselves and their neighbors have a plus. The regions that can't even feed themselves have a minus. The regions that are beyond the reproduction line of their own population, poverty and dump, have an asterisk. Everything is clear from the bottom of the standings. The capital's status allows Moscow to live, although it is the third world in terms of energy consumption and food production. Tambov, Oryol, and Bryansk cannot earn bread for themselves and their descendants because there is not enough energy, but at least they can grow this bread. Others will give birth from this bread. Ivanova and Vladimir can't even grow up, and there's no question of making money. But there are questions with the upper part of the table, because Smolensk, which is hungry and living in poverty, but has a voracious industry, somehow got stuck here. What kind of industry is this, where you can't even make money for one child? Riddle. It's the same with Tver, neither to grow to devour, nor to earn to devour, and a voracious but inefficient industry. In general, the Central Federal District is a land of wonders, where some grow and others eat, where some work and others earn. There is Lipetsk, which has 2,500,000 extra food resources and 12,555 kilowatt-hours per capita, a super successful and super industrial region in physical terms, but only 59,000 rubles per month per capita, barely enough for one child to reproduce poverty. There is Kursk, which has 4 million extra food resources and 8,014 kilowatt-hours per capita, which is also a super successful region in physical terms, although the industry seems to be worse, and 52,300 rubles per month per capita. Here it is, the formula, where kilowatts affect well-being. Great, but there are Tula and Voronezh, which have the same 2,230,000, 2,780,000 of extra food resources. But the consumption is in the hallway 5,443 to 6,980 kilowatt-hours per capita, twice less than in Lipetsk, and the gross regional product 56,900, 59,600 rubles per month per capita, the same as in Lipetsk. How's that? It's a miracle? No, these are not miracles yet, because there are Kostroma, Kaluga, and Yaroslavl, where the population in the corridor 400,000, 800,000 people has nothing to eat, where consumption is in the corridor 5,987 to 6,780 kilowatt-hours per capita, less than in Nursing Kursk, and the gross regional product in the corridor of 52,500, 54,000 rubles per capita per month, more than in Nursing Kursk. These are definitely miracles, including because the gross regional product of these poor garbage dumps is only slightly inferior to Lipetsk with its 12,555 kilowatt-hours, and this is the average American level. The miracles do not end there, because there are Tver and Kaluga, which consume the same 6,600 kilowatt-hours per capita. They have nothing to eat equally. In Kaluga there are even 500,000 more hungry mouths, but in Kaluga 54,000 rubles per month per capita, and in Tver 43,700 rubles per month per capita. There is no need to try to find a system, pattern, etc. here. They are not there. There is a field of wonders, where some grow, others eat, some earn, others spend. And there is a feeling that the gross regional product per capita is made up of nonsense, because it does not depend either on the level of energy consumption by industry or on the level of success in agriculture. The result, Russians in the Central Federal District will continue to die out, until another million die out. Further, the extinction will slow down, but there will be an aging population, which means that in the future, extinction again. With such introductory conditions, it will be impossible to maintain influence on other districts. There is no market in the Central Federal District. Successful regions subsidize unsuccessful regions with money, grain, and resources. As a result, depopulation and poverty are spreading throughout the district. There is no point in giving birth with such introductory conditions. The children have nothing to eat physically, there is not enough food, and there is nothing to buy scarce food, there is not enough money. There is also no point in working with such introductory conditions, because no matter what crops harvest in region, no matter what success achieve in industry, will not earn money or feed anyway. On 64,800,000 hectares, overgrown with forest in some places, live only 40,200,000 people, and some in their regions cannot even plow land for agriculture and grow vegetables, cucumbers, and tomatoes for the whole district, since wheat does not grow. No flax, no linen clothes, 72 cows per 1,000 inhabitants, butter and cheese only in pictures. All consumed 228,637,000,000 kilowatt-hours, which is 5,688 kilowatt-hours per capita. Gentlemen, this is some kind of garbage dump. And you're attacking countries where the population and per capita consumption are twice as high as yours. Well, good luck.